What's up, everybody? This is the Figuring It Out Finance podcast, and I'm your host, Chris Rickenbaugh. My goal is to help young adults get started on their financial journey, so let's figure it out together. So today's episode is going to be where to start. It doesn't matter if you're 17 or 18 in high school looking to start going to college or figuring out what you want to do after school, or you're 60 and trying to figure out what's the next step and where you're at in life. So where do you start? So the number one thing is, what do your accounts look like? So I'm going to give a rundown of the 3 accounts you must have, and this is where we need to start before you look at house hacking or travel hacking or any of the cool and fun stuff, because if you don't have these accounts labeled and know exactly what these accounts are, you might have them labeled a little bit differently, but these are the 3 main accounts you need to start with. And since we're looking more at the starting outside, say high school and college, these are the 3 accounts you need to be able to set up before you go to college or just starting out. So, and those 3 accounts are your checking account, which is your spending account, your savings account, which is saving up for those bigger purchases, kind of stockpiling some cash, and then your emergency account. So before we get to any of the fun stuff, we need to start talking about the emergency account. So going through the Dave Ramsey beginning, I think the emergency account and what he uses this for, how to build it up, is super, super important and wise, because for starting out, he says you need to build that emergency account up to at least $500, and then you don't have to contribute to it anymore. So once you build up to $500, that's going to give you something to lean on in case something happens. So for the college student, this could be, driving to school, flat tire, tire change, oil change, something unexpected where you didn't save for. So I've had to use that a couple times while I was in college, and they said, well, I know you weren't planning on this today, but you have to get 2 brand new tires. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, that's so much money. But I looked at my emergency account and I had that $500 in there. And I said, oh, well, no problem. And you will have emergencies in life, so there's no way of getting around it. And, once you start moving up a little bit more in life, that number isn't going to be 500. It's going to start bumping up to 1,000 or 1,500. A lot of the personal finance people out there say you need to have about 6 months of reserves and in cash in that emergency account, and that'll give you a lot more to lean on. So 6 months starting out would be really, really tough for that high school and college student, but the $500 emergency account is going to be really, really easy to get to, especially if you have one of those college jobs or you had one in high school. So that's where I would start. So next is moving into that spending account. So this account is what you're using to pay your mortgage, your rent, your groceries. This is what you have left over after contributing to your savings and emergency account. So once that emergency account is built up and you've allocated to your savings, then whatever is left goes into your spending account. So this is what you have to spend. So say you make $500 a month and you have that emergency account built up and you've allocated to your savings, which is going to be what I get into next. This is what you're going to have left over for that Gucci bag, those sporting games, going out to eat, restaurants, whatever. So it's really as simple as that. So before I get too ahead of myself, I'm going to jump into the savings account because I think this is really, really important. So your savings account, this is going to be the account you put where you kind of stockpile your cash after your emergency account is built up. So normally I'll do a podcast or an episode later about the 10% rule, but normally based on your income, you take 10% of that savings. Some people bump it up to 15%, but I normally start out at that 10% and then figure out where you're at. So 10%, say you make $500 a month, you're taking that 10%, which would be $50, and putting it into your savings right away as soon as your check comes into your account. So you put that $50 in there, don't touch it, you have $450 left over, and that $450 is what goes into your savings account. So the savings, you just want to use this as, kind of like a stockpile for those bigger purchases. So leaning back into the high school or college part, if you're looking to save up for that first car, save up for that bigger purchase, because real life is coming after college and you're going to have some money stockpiled, or you're looking to house hack, which we will get into at another time, which is what I would recommend for living for free in college and maybe even getting paid. Anyway, but saving up for that first big purchase, whether it's a vacation, car, or anything like that, this is what that savings account is going to be for. And there's different savings accounts. So you're going to be looking for something with a high yield savings account. So high yield means you're going to be earning some money back on what you have in that account. So my American Express account, I think I earn 4.3%. I know there's a couple banks out there that give you a little bit more based on what you have in that savings account, but that's what I use. And you earn a couple cents or a certain percentage based on what you have. So once you get to that solid number in your main savings account and having it sit there, that little interest doesn't do a whole lot for you. And that's when you can move into the investing side, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But say you put $5,000 in there, not much is going to be happening in there. You're not going to be earning a ton. So once you hit those bigger numbers in your savings account, that's where we can start talking about investing a little bit. And I have so many ideas on that. But as the starting point, you fill out that emergency fund to $500. And then you're slowly contributing about 10% of your income into that savings account. You're not going to know it's gone. I know 10% sounds like a lot, but you're going to be able to build up that savings account up. It's not going to eat into any of your income, and you're going to have $450 left over every month to spend. So that's a lot for a college kid. It's hard to, unless you're really wild with your expenses. So that's where I would start. And if you have any more questions, I'd love to answer it. Check out the website, figuringitoutfinance.com, where I have a couple of the surveys on there, whether you're a student or not a student. And if you could fill those out for me and give me some questions to talk about on here. So one main point I wanted to hit right before I signed off was with the emergency account, you could also put that into a high yield savings account to earn a little bit extra interest. And even putting 1% of your income per month into this account after you hit that goal amount number, say 500, you could put $5 in there every single month and it's slowly going to grow. You could even do 5% or a little bit more. But the main goal is to put it away, not even notice it, and whatever is left over after allocating to the emergency and spending and savings account is what you get to spend after that. So you can read all about this on my blog, number 3, Setting Up Your Accounts. I'd really appreciate it and all the feedback, and we'll catch you on the next episode.